What's up, everyone? It's your boy NornRad89 here, bringing you another ranking video today. As you can see by the thumbnail, we are ranking 12 live-action Batman films. I'm not including Lego Batman or Batman Mask of Phantasm. They were theatrical released films, but I'm just not including any animated stuff in this ranking. It's just the live-action Batman films. And we are going to be doing Justice League, the Whedon cut, and also the Snyder cut included in this list. So that's how we come out to the 12, plus Batman v Superman as well. Sorry about my voice too, as you can tell. I kind of under the weather, been going through some like stuffy nose and like, allergy shit and just all kinds of drama with that stuff. So, but let's get on to this ranking. And of course, this is just my list, my personal opinion. I would love to hear from all of you in the comments section. Share your list of your favorite Batman films. So right off the bat, coming in at number 12, at the bottom of the barrel for this list is going to be the Joss Whedon cut of the Justice League film. I just have no desire to return to this film. Since the Snyder cut came out, I've decided I'll never watch this movie. And that's why this movie sits at the bottom of the barrel, is because I'll never return to it. Plus, it is completely ridiculous what Warner Brothers and Whedon did to Zack Snyder when they took his film from him, botched it to pieces, and what they put out there. And when you see the Snyder cut, it just makes this cut so much more worse. That's why it's sitting here like at the bottom of the barrel. Like I said, in no time in my life will I ever return to this film. 11 is going to be Batman and Robin, Joel Schumacher's second film. This is the one with George Clooney in it, and oh man, this is just a toy pushing Warner Brothers property film. And like, yeah, I do have some nostalgia loving for it, and it was a film that came out when I was a child, so that's why, like I said, it beats out the Whedon cut, because I have some nostalgia love for it. I do enjoy Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance as Victor Freeze, even though it's just a bunch of puns and all kinds of shit, but I still, like I said, enjoy his performance. Uma Thurman, I still think she's hot, she's badass, and she was still cool as Poison Ivy. Bane, I can do without that Bane portrayal was awful. So like, it's like an up and down thing with this film, but it's definitely not a good Batman movie. Number 10 is going to be the Batman 1966 film, Adam West, his portrayal of Batman on the big screen. I think this is just, in his era, even for this time, I think it just works better as a TV show. Watching the film, it's just not a film I'll ever really return to. I don't like it that much. Like, I was debating about putting Batman and Robin above this because I've seen Batman and Robin more, but I don't really have a desire to really watch that film a lot either. But I think for this one, I put 66 above it because Adam West did know what kind of film he was in and did deliver pretty good on the, on the role. He just knew exactly what he was doing, a comedy for adults, but taking it serious for the kids. And like I said, it's just slapstick comedy, but I think it works better as a TV series, better than like an 80-minute movie or whatever it was. So that's why it sits here at the number 10 spot. Number 9 is going to be Batman Forever, Val Kilmer's outing as the Batman. I don't necessarily think this is a horrible movie. This is where we're getting into the average, like pretty much average good films. I think this is still a pretty solid good movie. I can definitely watch this film again and have enjoyment in it and all that kind of stuff. I just wish it could have been so much better. I think Val Kilmer and them in certain roles and certain aspects in the writing is where it kind of missed out. But I think there's still a good movie inside of this film, and I really do wish we as fans would get to see like an unrated cut of this film, because I heard there's an unrated cut of this movie, or a cut of this movie that was almost 3 hours long that we were told by Joel Schumacher. So I'm eager to see how that would have turned out, and I really wish that Warner Brothers wouldn't have had too many fingers in the pie messing with the movie, because it feels definitely that way, like it's too many cooks in the kitchen type thing. Coming in at number 8, and this one kind of hurts because I do love this film, and I grew up with this film, and like I said, we're still in the crux of the good Batman films for me. Not the great ones, but the good ones. Batman 1989, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, Tim Burton, the first like kind of epic Batman film that really kind of changed the landscape for how comic book movies were going to be taken into the limelight. You know what I mean? It necessarily might not be the most comic book accurate of all the films on this list, but it definitely was instrumental in starting a lot of other films like this and really bringing comic book movies, like I said, to the limelight. I don't think without Batman 1989, I don't think we would have had Spider-Man and X-Men and so many of those other comic book movies. I don't think would have happened as soon or like as good as they were if this one didn't lay down the template for it. And like I said, Michael Keaton still does a slam dunk job as the Batman. I think he's the most balanced Batman and Bruce Wayne. He's not the greatest Batman or the greatest Bruce Wayne, but he's the most balanced. He services the film well. Number 7, and this one might be a hot take, I know, but like we're still in the crux of, to me, the good Batman films. This one's almost a great Batman film. Oh, like it is, like actually from 7 on up, really. Yeah, these are to me all great Batman films. Like I love this franchise. Anything to do with Batman, I'm gonna be there. And number 7 for me is gonna be Batman Begins. I know, like I said, this might be a hot take because I've seen a lot of people, and Batman Begins is most likely in the top 5 of their list. They love it. Christopher Nolan's first outing for directing a Batman film, introducing Christian Bale. Like I said, we have Scarecrow in here. Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson. I actually do prefer Katie Holmes as the character in this film to Maggie Gyllenhaal's that we get in Dark Knight. But I think just there's so many other great Batman films, and some of the other ones, it might be nostalgia or style, or I prefer that Batman portrayal better for that kind of movie. But like I said, Batman Begins, it just falls into this area. Like I said, from 7 on up, these are all great Batman films for me. And yeah, it's just Batman Begins has a tough time fighting all these other ones that you're going to see coming up next. Number 6 for me is going to be Batman Returns. And oh man, Batman Returns, I freaking love this film. And this is the one for me. It was the VHS tape that I owned that I replayed the most as a child for a Batman movie. And it really does hurt me to put Batman Returns at this number 6 spot. I wanted it to be in the top 5 so bad. I was like, Batman Returns is still going to be in my freaking top 5 even after all these other ones. And then I looked at the list and I was going down and like putting them against each other. And I was like, damn, Batman Returns isn't in my top 5 anymore, man. But like I said, it really does hurt to put this film here because I adore Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. I love Danny DeVito's Penguin, and I think Michael Keaton, this is his best outing as Batman. And oh, dude, Tim Burton, it's so characteristic, and like the Gotham in this one, it's so crazy, so wild, and I love how everybody goes for it. And I feel like everybody knew what kind of film they were in. And Batman Returns, like I said, this film kicks ass. There's some dark stuff in this movie too. I think if Warner Brothers would have really let Tim Burton loose, it would have been an even darker movie, and like I said, would have been kind of a very early version of the Batman film that we just got, of how dark it was. But yeah, like I said, it really does hurt to have Batman Returns out of the top 5 because I adore this movie to death. Like I said, it was a huge part of what I love about comic book movies is because of Batman Returns. Coming in at number 5, we are here at the top 5, and if you haven't yet, drop a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel so you don't miss a thing. I have a lot of videos and a lot of playlists, so like I said, breeze through the content and have that notification bell clicked so you can be notified anytime I post a video. And now, like I said, we're here at the top 5, the number 5 spot. This might be a controversial one too for some people. Justice League Snyder Cut. And oh, the Snyder Cut was so glorious. It's amazing that we finally got this film and saw it, even though if it wasn't on the big screen, it was on HBO Max. But the fact that we just got this film and Zack Snyder got to really relive his vision and do what he wanted to do, because he really does love these characters and love this universe, and you can tell. And he might be a very stylish director in the way he does things, but some of his shots in Justice League Snyder Cut and Batman vs. Superman are some of the best shots, cinematography wise, or most beautiful, like poster looking worthy shots that you've ever seen in a superhero movie, like period. So, oh man, but Snyder Cut, like I said, it just has the problem of battling so many other good Batman films, and Batman's not really the prime focus in this one. That's why it's kind of at this number 5 spot, but it is such an epic film, and it is a 4-hour taking. So the films above this are ones that I can digest better, and I can watch them easier and see them, you know what I mean, and me watching them and rewatching them more and more and stuff like that. So that's why it kind of gets beaten out by some of these other films. But oh man, Justice League Snyder Cut, like I said, was a banger for sure, and was a glorious film in my top 10 of the 2021 releases. It was in my top 10 of that year. Now we're here at the number 4 spot, and like I said, this one, like this is just my list, but it might be getting a little controversial for some people, but it's Batman v Superman. This is my favorite outing, or my favorite Ben Affleck outing. Like, oh, I loved it, man. Him versus Henry Cavill. Ben Affleck was the perfect Batman to go up against Henry Cavill's Superman, and when you see it on screen, it's fucking glorious, bro. Even the theatrical cut, people talk shit about the theatrical cut and they have an ultimate cut. I've watched both and I freaking adore both. That's why this film is in the top 5, is because I love both cuts of this film, even though the ultimate cut makes it so much better. This film has some of the best dialogue that I've ever heard in a Batman film. Like, I still get goosebumps thinking about some of the stuff that, like, even Lex Luthor, like some of the lines that he has about gods and devils and heaven and hell, like, oh dude, like, it's so good. The grandma's like the peach tea, like that bombing scene, like, there's just so much to love about this movie, man. And when you see Batman, I love seeing Batman actually outsmart Henry Cavill's Superman, even though he's trying to tell him something, and he does. He tries to tell Batman, yo dude, I need your help, like, stuff's going on. Lex has got, my mom, he's got Lois, like, it's going down. And, like, it's just such a great film. I love the way it plays out. Yes, Doomsday, the CGI, it could be a little wonky, but I think Wonder Woman is a great addition to this movie as well. And I think, yeah, like I said, Ben Affleck, this is my favorite portrayal of him as the Batman, is in Batman v Superman. Like, it's just a glorious watch. I've watched this film like 12 freaking times and I never get tired of this movie. And like I said, I've watched the theatrical cut, I've watched the ultimate cut, and I love both. I don't really care. I'll return to both of them. That's why it's easily in my top 5. Coming in at number 3, another Christopher Nolan film. What's it gonna be? I know people are probably expecting me to say Dark Knight Rises right now, but number 3 for me is gonna be Dark Knight. Heath Ledger versus Batman. Christian Bale's Batman, and Heath Ledger's Joker, so glorious. We have Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face, who was one that I never really enjoyed that much. I had to kind of warm up to him. The first couple times I saw The Dark Knight, I really didn't like Aaron Eckhart's performance. I had to kind of warm up to that. Maggie Gyllenhaal does an okay job, but she's not as good as Katie Holmes to me. I really think Maggie Gyllenhaal was a step down, in my opinion. But I think the reason this one is at this number 3 spot is because I feel like it's not as, it's just these other two that are above it are two stories that I wanted from the Batman stuff more. And I really loved the way they came out, and they were perfection kind of to me. These other two above this one, and The Dark Knight, like I said, it is a really good film, harkening back to Christopher Nolan, taking an homage from Heat and a lot of the crime thrillers from the early 90s. And you can see that this one is a very crime thriller type film. But I think Joker definitely takes control of this film, and he's the head honcho of this movie and kind of steals the limelight away from Two-Face and Batman in this film. And number 2, the runner-up to the top dog for me, is going to be the Batman. Yes, the Batman film, the new one. Like, oh man, I've seen this film, and like, it's just, all my problems with this film are just little nitpicky things, like just little tiny things. There's no major problems for me. I think this is one of the most Batman-esque storylines we've ever seen. It is totally freaking focused on Bruce Wayne and Batman. They are the center of this film, his family. And yes, Robert Pattinson doesn't get a chance to really portray his Bruce Wayne style in this movie, but he is a very young Bruce Wayne Batman, 2 years into the project, so he's still balancing that aspect of himself. And Paul Dano's Riddler was just like the chef's kiss, the cherry on top. Like, he's in it like the least amount in this movie, but every scene he chews up the scenery, and I freaking love him. All the side characters, Gordon to Catwoman to Penguin, they all did a slam dunk job and are amazing. And you can easily see why they're trying to get 2 TV shows on HBO Max coinciding with these films, is because this fucking movie is amazing for real. I can understand why it could be too dark for some people, or it could be too lengthy. Yes, the 3 hours, but for me, the 3 hours flew by. I've always wanted a dark Batman. Batman lends himself to being a dark character, and the story arc that Robert Pattinson's Batman goes on in this film is freaking amazing. Like I said, we've had other Batman films on this list. There's like 3 or 4 of these movies that there's no freaking arc for Batman. He's just the same character at the beginning that he is at the end of the movie, and that's not what is in this movie, And I think, I can't wait to see what Matt Reeves does with the rest of this, the Batman. The top dog, the number 1 spot. If you've been paying attention, we had 12 films on this list. You know what film's next. And if you know me, or a friend of mine, or know me, a family member, my wife, you know this is my favorite Batman film, and has been my favorite Batman film ever since it's come out. That's The Dark Knight Rises. I fucking adore this movie. It's just that simple. Even no matter what flaws or what people have brought up to me about the script or the conveniences or any kind of shit like that, I freaking adore this movie. The Dark Knight Rises is one of my favorite kind of Batman stories. It's kind of a realistic Nolan take on the Nightfall storyline. And even though Christian Bale isn't Batman that much in this movie, he is the least amount of Batman he is ever in any of the three films in this movie. This is like one of the best stories and versions I've ever seen. I think Christian Bale is the most comfortable as Bruce Wayne and Batman in this movie. You can see at this point he's just comfortable in the role and he knows what he's freaking doing. Tom Hardy is Bane. I think is unheralded as one of the most underrated villains. I kind of hate using that word, but he is one of the most, I think, underrated villains, easily in my top three of live action villains. Bane, oh, Tom Hardy did such a good job, has so many good lines. Like, it just the way this film looks, it's so beautiful. Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, I think, was perfect for this film. And like, it's just everything. Even the way Gary Oldman is, even though he kind of gets sidelined, but his arc and story with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, like, it's I still get goosebumps and I'm freaking out about it because, like I said, every time I watch this movie, it's so good. Dark Knight Rises is the only Batman film on this list that I actually saw like multiple times, multiple times. I saw this 3 times in the theaters, took different people with me every time, and it's because it's just, it is. It's my favorite Batman film ever since it come out. And like every time I rewatch it on TV or on DVD or anything, like this film just kicks hard for me. Dark Knight Rises is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. My favorite Batman film of all time. Like I said, The Batman came very close because, like I said, that is the most detective, most Batman-esque film we've ever seen. But I really do love the story for Dark Knight Rises, and just like that scene when Batman fights Bane and you see them fight each other for that first time. Oh, it was so good. Like just the way it looks, it's so beautiful. Like, it's just great. It's a great film for real. Like Dark Knight Rises, I think was Nolan's perfect Batman film, and a lot of people might be pissed off about that because they think, oh, there's a lot of problems with the writing and the conveniences and like this stuff that he didn't explain. And it's like, I think Nolan just knew that some people wouldn't be down for an even longer film. I think if Nolan really wanted to do what he wanted to do, this film would have been almost 4 hours, and I would have sat there for every fucking minute of it. I love this movie for real. Like I said, Dark Knight Rises sits here very comfortable at my number one spot. But as I said, this is just my list, my personal opinion. What did you all think? And share your list in the comment section and ranking of the Batman films so far. And thanks for sticking around with me all for this ranking. Have a safe and happy day. Peace out.